South Dakota has the largest supermajority in the country. But a Democrat and a Republican came together and passed legislation almost unanimously to make sure that youth experiencing homelessness would have a non-driver identification birth certificate. And that's pretty powerful stuff. What made it bipartisan, I think, is the shared concern about our kids. Why would I want to create barriers for a 7-year-old to have access to their birth certificate? It's just unpalatable when you think about the idea of what the opportunity is without those bills. I grew up in a very rural community, grew up in a household of rural educators, and now I represent the most populous and most urban district in South Dakota, District 15, North Central, downtown Sioux Falls. What really carried me into the legislature was a really big emphasis on taking care of kids in schools. How do we make sure that we're funding our schools? How do we make sure that we're giving our teachers their best shot at giving folks a good education and making sure that folks have the resources they need to succeed? Looking at issues of affordability, housing and childcare. How do we make sure that we're giving folks the best chance and the best fair shake that we can give them to find a better life? That really all led to being the sponsor of House Bill 1074 and 1075, building on the work of my fellow colleague in District 15, Representative Caden Whitman. 1074 and 1075 made it possible for McKinney-Vento homeless coordinators in schools, as well as school nurses, social workers, and school counselors, the ability to help homeless youth get access to that free birth certificate or free non-driver ID. It passed overwhelmingly from both chambers, and it was a really great show of bipartisanship. Homeless youth in South Dakota most likely aren't arriving in District 15 at the Bishop Dudley House, for example, which is primarily serving adults. Where they're more likely to be identified is in their school. We wanted to make sure that the list of providers included those helpful resources in schools, making it possible such that homeless youth specifically could access this program, knowing that they may not otherwise go to those homeless service providers that would be around the state. I really appreciated getting a chance to work for Senator Schoenfish, the chair of the Senate Education Committee in South Dakota Legislature. And he's been a long time school advocate. We both know each other. We both have shared context. We have a good working relationship, but also have a really deep concern and passion for taking care of our schools and making sure that our kids have the best shot that we can give them. And what was unique about this experience working with him, but also working with both chambers and both sides of the aisle, is that it's really hard for folks to go against things that actually help kids. It's really difficult to stand against that. And it's even more difficult to stand against our poorest children experiencing homelessness by no fault of their own. In South Dakota, there's a lot of shared values around work ethic and helping people make sure that they have the resources they need. That was very much evident throughout the process. The message and the focus was on this program is a very low cost program, but it's also one of those things that has really high impact. What made it bipartisan, I think, is the shared concern about our kids. Having two trusted legislators on both sides of the aisle that know education and can speak to the challenges, not just urban, but also rural, it made it really easy to make this clear that this is a win for everybody. Low cost as that solution might be, it really should be telling to folks that no matter what side of the aisle you're on, people are looking for ways to take care of our next generation and give them the best chance they can give them. What would it mean to be able to step into a child's shoes who's experiencing homelessness and the barrier of having $15 to go pursue getting a birth certificate or a non-driver ID card just to make sure that I can say I can go get healthcare, I can go get transportation, find housing, all of those things. When we're already putting strain, especially in our rural school districts, our public school districts in tribal nations, in a position where they're under-resourced and understaffed, and have this McKinney-Vento homeless liaison who is likely playing multiple hats in a school district, creating just another barrier for them to actually provide that birth certificate to a child when we could just make it available to them for free. It's really important for us to make sure we're taking care of our kids and that those who are absolutely struggling the most to make sure that they have what they need. These types of programs, though they might seem small, are actually really important. Of all the other pieces of legislation that we're looking at, especially things like making sure that school lunches are available to our moderate income students at no cost. I think it's going to be really important for us to have these types of legislative wins, whether it's having a birth certificate or having a meal. Those are things that we absolutely cannot allow to continue, and we must pass legislation to address those things. Rod Monts has been absolutely fantastic. Rod was a wealth of resources. We have passion. We have deep passion. And in South Dakota, our legislators do not have staff. We are on our own. Having resources like Rod that knew not only the issue at hand and the right policy solution, but could localize it for us and really make it applicable, not just to me in Sioux Falls, a population center, but also for our rural communities like Senator Schoenfish's, where He's representing a district that has 5, 6 counties within it. Having that type of support, Rod was an absolute delight to work with. Such a great resource, but also brought the full weight to bear to make sure that we had everything we needed to be successful. He really was who made this process very smooth and easy, and we really appreciate all he did.